Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Football Fandemic, where we're going to be breaking down championship weekend, looking at the games that have sent us to our current Super Bowl roster. We're going to do that. We might look ahead a little bit. We're going to talk about some coaching and more here on the Football Fandemic. Welcome everybody. Matthew Thomas here with Josh Kolojeski, and we are excited because the game has been set. The Super Bowl table is before us, and it was set with these games that we watched this last weekend. We're going to get into and talk about some of those, but before we do, as always, we're going to hit the news and the goings-on around the NFL. We've had some coaching movement yet again. It's almost wearing out, almost getting thinned down, but there's still some to go.
Yeah, and then there was three with the news today that the Buffalo Bills have just promoted Joe Brady to become their new head coach. He was their offensive coordinator and had been their offensive coordinator, I think, since 2022 or 2021. But a lot of that was when Josh Allen was at the height of his success, and still is at the height of his success, obviously, where he's become this superhero sort of character there for the Buffalo Bills without many weapons behind him. And a lot of that can probably be credited as well to the play calling of Joe Brady. The interesting thing here is last week that when Sean McDermott was fired, is Terry Bagula and Brandon Beane, the owner and general manager of the Buffalo Bills, had both said that, well, if Keon Coleman, it wasn't Brandon Beane's pick. That was more of a coaching staff pick. Well, Sean McDermott was a defensive coordinator and was on the defensive side, and Joe Brady was the lead guy on offense. So who do we think was picking the wide receiver Keon Coleman under this perhaps disguised scenario here, this save-facing scenario from the Buffalo Bills at that press conference? Probably Joe Brady, who they just promoted to become their new head coach. So I think there might be some hypocrisy either in this that press conference or with this hire.
So what do you think was going on with them having Philip Rivers in? Philip Rivers, who, by the way, said he wasn't going to pursue NFL coaching, and then suddenly we keep hearing, oh, he's going up to talk to them about this job, and then after a bit of talk, he pulled out of that, and they went with Brady. But do you think that was just like look, we are having people in, but we already know our guy, or we are genuinely kind of wanting to see what's going on with Philip Rivers?
Yeah, I think they didn't want to leave any stone unturned, especially when it comes to offensive guys. And hearing that Philip Rivers had designed a playbook for his high school that was not much unlike what Shane Steichen had with the Indianapolis Colts, it could be interesting to get a read on that. Maybe also bringing him in just for some intel purposes as well. But I think it's also key that he has the same agent as both Josh Allen, obviously their quarterback, and Davis Webb, who is the quarterback coach of the Broncos, who was also interviewed for this job. So perhaps it's just, the agent pulling some strings to get his clients a good look, because both of them probably are not ready anyway to be head coaches, I would assume. Davis Webb is a 30-year-old quarterback coach that's never even coordinated an offense. And I don't know too many, even if they're a Hall of Fame quarterback, too many folks that have gone right from high school to coaching at the NFL level in a full-time role. So I think it was maybe some agent back scratching there that went on.
That very well could be. But the Bills have found their guy. We also know that Tennessee had found their guy earlier. They also got themselves an offensive coordinator today.
Yeah, they got Brian Dable as their offensive coordinator. He had been in the running for the Bills job. He had a couple interviews. He also had a couple interviews with the Raiders as well, but he's going to go and take a job with the Tennessee Titans. And I think even in the reporting, other reports had said, like with Mike McDaniel and with Brian Flores, it's, they will be here. They're signing as the coordinators at these places. unless they get a head coaching job. I don't think that was the reporting here. I think it was Brian Dable turned down the Raiders, not that he was offered the job, but withdrew himself from consideration and will just be the Titans offensive coordinator.
Yeah, originally I had heard they're working out a deal, barring him getting the head coaching job of the Raiders. But then I guess maybe he went ahead and just pulled out of that and said, "I'm just doing this." So, um, but that does leave three. But we haven't yet talked about the other head coaching position that was filled since last week. Pittsburgh
Yes, and
Steelers.
the Pittsburgh Steelers. We also, I forgot to mention last week that Kevin Stefanski had been hired by the Atlanta Falcons.
He
I forgot,
has.
we forgot to mention that. So, just to cover our bases there, he's with the Falcons, and then Mike McCarthy is the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is an interesting hire because the Pittsburgh Steelers historically, and granted, this is a small sample size because since the merger, they've only made 3 head coaching hires,
Right.
the NFL AFL merger, and they've always gotten a defensive coordinator who is in their mid 30s that they expect to be along for the long haul for like 15 to
Mhm.
20 years with all Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. And now they're kind of going out of type here and getting a offensive guy who is 10 years older than Mike Tomlin is currently after spending 15 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if they're expecting Mike McCarthy to last 15 to 20 years, he's going to be up above 80. And I mean, Pete Carroll has been able to make that work. I'm not sure if Mike McCarthy is the last year. I saw the press conference has kind of aged him a little bit since not being the
Mhm.
head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and uh, somebody I can't remember. Maybe if somebody knows, they can drop it in a comment. I'll make the language more family friendly. But they said hiring him after firing Mike Tomlin is like pooping your pants and then changing your shirt.
Yes. Yeah, it is an interesting hire because with all of those other guys, it was okay. You are building a program here with the Steelers. You are imbuing yourself into our tradition, but also building your own program. And you've been given this nice foundation. I feel like it's the opposite here with Mike McCarthy, where he comes to Green Bay and he inherits Brett Favre and a first round pick and Aaron Rodgers. That he had the choice to actually select when he was with the San Francisco 49ers as their offensive coordinator, and he chose Alex Smith instead. So he kind of lucks out there, but he gets to a team that is already kind of built to win, gets to Dallas, a team that is already built to win. And I know that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had success and haven't had a losing season since Bill Cowher was the head coach. But even so, I wouldn't say that this is the same sort of situation that Mike McCarthy has previously walked into. And it seems like the timeline of the Steelers and the timeline of Mike McCarthy just don't intersect very well.
Have since Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown left, have they had like a really dominant season? I feel like they've had winning seasons,
Yes,
but
they haven't had a playoff win since before 2017. So I think they made the playoffs in 2016 or 2015 and won playoff games in that year. But 2017, where they were upset by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the divisional round, that was like their last chance to kind of have. I think that was the last time they were even favorited in one of these playoff games. So they have not won a playoff game in nearly 10 years.
yeah. So he's got some work to do there. That's not going to be the same Steelers organization that it used to be, and um, it'll be interesting to see where it goes under Mike McCarthy. But he is there, and you said, and then there were three. There are still three teams. What three teams are
Yes.
still looking for a head coach?
Well, we have the Arizona Cardinals, the
Right.
Cleveland Browns, and the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you look at the draft order for the 2025 or sorry 2026 NFL draft, you'll see that the Raiders are number 1, the Cardinals are number 3, and the Cleveland Browns are number 6. So these are probably rightfully so not so much desirable spots. In fact, we've already had a number of guys withdraw their name from wanting to be the head coach in these spots, like Grant Udinski, I think, with Cleveland, and obviously Brian Dable with Las Vegas. So there is definitely some hesitancy, I think, for these team or for these head coaches, especially first time head coaches potentially, to go there and have their one shot at coaching in the NFL flush down the toilet.
Yeah. But only having 32 of those jobs available, somebody is going to take that job.
Yes.
The question is who?
Yeah, and for right now, the Cardinals have if we're looking at guys that these teams have interviewed twice as the finalists, then right now there are two finalists for the Cardinals job, and that is Anthony Campanile, defensive coordinator of the Jaguars, and Anthony Weaver, who is the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. Probably not going to be the defensive coordinator there now with Jeff Hafley taking over as the head coach, but that's where he was last year. Cleveland is down to two. And it seems like they might be the next one to fall off here. And that's either going to be an in-house hire with Jim Schwartz, who's their defensive coordinator. And I think he was the coach of the Lions when they went 0-16 back in 2008. So that's the kind of position that the Cleveland Browns are in. And then the quarterback coach of the Los Angeles Rams, Nate Scheelhaas. I guess Todd Monken is still in the running here. He's been interviewed twice, but it seems to be down to both Scheelhaas or Schwartz. They like the SCH name at the
We're
top of
getting away
the
from the Mike Mick, and we're going to the show.
yes. Yes. And then for Las Vegas, the guys that they have interviewed twice, one of them just came off the board today. It was Joe Brady. But they all have also interviewed Davis Webb twice, and then the Panthers defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. So there are the candidates there. None that are. I mean, I think Ejiro Evero is definitely interesting because he is a guy that has been on teams with bad defenses, but always has like a good system that rallies those bad defenses to play better than they have any right to. And in fact, when the Vikings hired Kevin O'Connell, Ejiro Evero was looked at as like this new hot up and coming name to be their new defensive coordinator. And he's been a good defensive coordinator. And maybe they're going to try to make him a head coach there in Las Vegas, but in a place where the ownership and general managers have been as fickle as they have been in the Raiders. I mean, you mentioned if you go three Steelers head coaches back, it's all the way to 1969. If you go three Raiders head coaches, it's like 2022. So like it's not a fun place to go and coach football.
Yeah, and usually you have like some team waiting to pick up like the hot name off the Super Bowl winning or Super Bowl losing team, but I just don't see anybody in the Seahawks organization or anybody in the New England organization who's looking to leave for one of these three teams.
I could see Clint Kubiak if he got an offer, perhaps getting a job because he had a pretty we'll talk about later, but he had a pretty good showing in the NFC Championship game. I also expected Chris Shula to get more looks. He's the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams. After whenever the Rams were going to be eliminated, it ended up being this conference championship. And in the 2 days that have followed, I don't think he's gotten any non-Zoom in-person interviews just yet. I think those two have been the hottest names. The one hottest name that also came off the board since our last show was Jesse Minter, and he was a guy that was kind of talked about a lot all the way going back to the Chiefs Chargers week 1 game where the Chargers upset Kansas City. At that time it was an upset, but he ends up going and getting probably the most desirable or second most desirable out of the open jobs in going to the Baltimore Ravens, where he had previously worked as a defensive coordinator. And it's hard to keep Jesse Minter and Mike McDonald straight because both of them have worked with both Harbaugh brothers at both, Baltimore and Michigan and Los Angeles. But Jesse Minter maybe he's just a clone of Mike McDonald, and now you've got a guy that can really do some good work with the Ravens defense. But that was like him and Joe Brady now have been the only like big coordinator names that were highly sought after throughout the entire year, which is I think a little bit new because I mean we had Ben Johnson for like 3 years as this head coach hot name that finally came off the table, but now it's just these two that are left.
Yeah, and I remember when Tennessee picked up Brian Callahan?
Brian Callahan.
That was a big name at that time, and he's no longer there. Yeah. Well, the coaching continues to winnow down. Eventually, all 32 teams will have a coach. I can guarantee you that much.
It might be
But for
one of us
quality,
with some. It might be Matthew Thomas over with the Raiders, and then Josh Kolodziejski over with the Cardinals.
nobody with the Browns.
The, they're doing some charity work for Jim Schwartz. He
I
the only 0-16 head
I
coach.
saw a meme just this morning. Someone had posted. It's like I made the mistake of answering what do you call those now? Telecall, robot call, whatever it is. And it was the
Yes.
Browns wanting me to be their GM, their coach, and I said no. Oh man. Well, let's move on to talk about some of the game that we watched this last weekend. So these two games were played both on Sunday. This was in the midst or at the tail end of this huge storm that passed through America and caused crazy power outages in Tennessee, but all the way from Texas up, and then lots of snow. A little north of that, we got about 12 inches in some places. I think EIU recorded 7.1. I think at our house, which is just a little bit south of EIU, I know we got more than that, which I only live like a mile and a half south, but on down. I think the place that got the most was only 14 here in Illinois anyway. But there were other places that got a lot more. And what's funny is, right in the middle of that storm, Florida had an 87-degree record-breaking day. It's crazy.
We had some clouds.
You had some clouds. You're in the 70s today there in Arizona. Not knowing what it's like here in the Midwest, but anyway, all of that was going on, and these games were in the path. So let's see. The Broncos were playing at the Patriots, right?
That is, or no, they were playing
Or
in
no,
Denver.
in Denver,
Hmm.
which did not have all of that at the same time. Now, that game did. Let's go ahead and talk about that game. This game started off, and when you first looked at the screen, it looked great. And about halfway through, things changed and conditions changed, and the game changed. And I'll say that with that weather change, I feel like so when we were on here last time, I think we both picked the Broncos with Stidham to beat the Patriots. Okay. And I'm just going to, in defense, I'm going to say when that game started, I thought to myself, well, maybe Stidham's going to make me not look like a fool because this is looking like the Broncos are confident. He's playing fairly well. And I think they're going to be able to do what they need to do. But then when the weather changed, all of that went out the window, and the Broncos did not look able, and they were not able in this high-scoring 10-7 game. They were not able to ever get that field goal that I thought they were going to get several times to tie up the game. It's into overtime. No, the Patriots with their 10 points walked into the Super Bowl. Not what I expected. A 10-7, although I should have, with the defenses both playing well. And both quarterbacks, well, I expect Drake May to be a little stronger. But what did you think of this game? The Patriots versus the Broncos. Patriots win 10-7.
Yeah. The Patriots, if they win the Super Bowl this year, by the way, it will be not even the longest drought that they've had in between Super Bowl wins in the 21st century. That was from 2004 until 2014. This would just be a 7-year drought if they were to win this Super Bowl. So so the if you're thinking, oh, finally they got their comeuppance. And the fates or the cosmos or something supernatural has gone away from the Patriots, well, then you would change your mind when, after the Patriots took their first lead of the AFC Conference Championship game, we returned from commercial break and it was a blizzard in Denver. And you thought, did I switch over to NFL Network and watch one of these like classic, Raiders versus Patriots game where you had the tuck rule? Nope, it was the same game, but the screen changed just that quickly. But yeah, Jarrett Stidham had a really solid start to this game. I think it spoke, though, because the first drive it didn't go well, and I think it spoke to some of the confidence or lack of confidence that Sean Payton truly had in his quarterback, because they go run for no gain, and they're putting him in this 3rd and long situation right off the bat. And I think if you had the confidence that Sean Payton did at the podium when he was asked about him last week, when he's like, "Oh, just watch, just watch," I don't think the actions reflected those words or that confidence. However, second drive of the game, they start to get rolling a little bit, and he kind of gives Jarrett Stidham some chances to build his confidence. He hits that deep shot that goes down the far side. He gets Marvin Mims, who's really just had a really good postseason. He had the game tying touchdown, I think, against Buffalo last week, and then drew pass interference to get him into field goal range. Like, he's been slowly killing it after kind of a quieter regular season this year. And he beats one of the best cornerbacks in the game, gets down to the red zone, and then they do just like one of those classic Sean Payton play action plays to get Stidham out on the run and give him 3 different levels to look at coming his way. And again, Christian Gonzalez bites down and on the play action, and he gets the first touchdown. And at this moment, I think you and I are probably starting to rest on our laurels a little bit. We're like, this is we're Nostradamus of football right here, because we've predicted Jarrett Stidham is going to look at least somewhat competent against this team. But then things kind of started to take a turn, not for the Broncos defense, because the Patriots were going absolutely nowhere, even when the field was green and the skies were clear.
Mhm.
But there were 2 moments in this game that I think if you just had Bo Nix take over the body of Jarrett Stidham for those 2 plays, that the Denver Broncos win this game. And that is on a 4th down and 1 in the red
Mhm.
zone,
Mhm.
where it's 7-0 and they have the chance to go up by 2 possessions. They decide to forego the field goal and go for it on 4th down and 1. And we can talk about the decision to do that. I don't know if they knew that the snowstorm was coming and making a snowstorm that effectively made this a 2.5 quarter game. I think if you knew that and had that knowledge in hindsight and how much it was going to affect the game, then you probably just kick the field goal based on how your defense is going. But I also understand you have a backup quarterback. You're not going to get into the red zone a ton with him, most likely. So take advantage of the times that you do. And the play call was there. It was just these, it's probably the most used Sean Payton Bo Nix play, that they have Bo Nix kind of fake the handoff, but not really. It's just a guys to hopefully get the defense to bite for 1 second. It's a play action where the running back doesn't even go for the handoff. He just sprints straight out into the flat, and then Bo Nix would sprint straight out that way and just dump it off to him. And if there'd be other routes crossing in behind that, if that wasn't there. It was there right away, but Jarrett Stidham was slow to roll out, so the timing wasn't there. His feet weren't under him at the correct time to find the open receiver. And then he also has a much slower release than Bo Nix does. And it ends up he's late. He takes a while to throw the ball, and it allows one of the Patriots defenders to come off of his man, read it, Craig Woodson, and break it up. And the Patriots get the ball back. They punt. And so that's play number 1. We're having Bo Nix there. You probably pick up the first down, and maybe you go up 14-0 now, and it's game over. But even so, at this point, the Patriots offense still not going anywhere, because they punt, and then the Broncos get the ball back. And there was only one drive that the Patriots had that went for points, really, in this game, that truly went for points, because the one touchdown they scored came after this disastrous play by Jarrett Stidham, where he fumbles the football trying to do a basketball pass, like a chest pass. And when he's hit, his body is turned forward. But by the time he has released the football, his body is turned behind the line of scrimmage, and that chest pass goes down, and the Patriots get the ball, scored a touchdown originally, but they had blown the whistle dead and called it an incomplete pass, and then had to go back and review, and they couldn't give him the touchdown because of the whistle. But the Patriots punched it in later. That's a play where I think it was a screen, and Bo Nix, for all of the faults that I have against him, he is a quick decision maker, and he probably, after the first pump fake, does not try to toss that football, especially on 3rd down. I don't know what you're trying to get out there. A sack on 3rd down, when your other option is just an incompletion, the payoff isn't really there. You're not going to chest pass a first down. but Bo Nix probably just throws it away or takes the sack and they punt, and the Patriots, based on what we
Don't
saw throughout
score.
the entire, they're not going to score, and maybe you just win 7-3 because of the snowstorm that comes later on.
Yeah, there were several places where I'm sure Bo Nix sitting up there watching that game. They showed him up in the stands, was thinking, how did I get hurt on the second to last play last game? What was I thinking? I could have been in the Super Bowl, because I think they could have been in the Super Bowl with Bo Nix. And Sean Payton's thinking it, and all Denver Broncos fans are thinking it. They're all thinking, if we just had Bo Nix, we would be in that Super Bowl. And they probably would be. Now, this is not to take away. Drake May had a few places where he used his legs and ran for a first down that needed to happen for them to win this game.
Yeah.
And he did that. But like you said, they were not offensively putting up the points in that game. And I don't know that they would have been able to put up the points if it hadn't been for those few mistakes that Mr. Stidham made, that Bo Nix probably wouldn't. Places where Bo Nix probably would have been able to at least run with it better or thrown it away or whatever the case. But as it is, the Patriots will be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. But then we had a second game later that night, Rams versus Seahawks. And truthfully, this was the game that I was wanting to watch, because these two teams were both good. And the truth is, whichever team won this, I expected to go to the Super Bowl and beat whoever was in the AFC. And so we have the Rams versus the Seahawks, a little different score than 10-7. This one was 31-27. Take us through what you saw in this game, because this was a much more exciting. This was much more offense. I felt like this was like so much offense going on in this game. Not what you saw Patriots Broncos, but a ton of offense here happening with Rams Seahawks.
Yeah, and I think that the Seahawks took advantage of the Rams' biggest weakness on defense, and that has been their secondary. They have Darius Williams, Emmanuel Forbes, who I'm sure Josh Hop will tell you is one of the biggest draft busts in Washington Commanders history. And then they also have Kobe Durant as their other cornerback. And early on in this game, the Seahawks take advantage of that by going deep down the field against a one-on-one look to Rashid Shaheed. And from that point on, the Rams defense has to kind of change its whole philosophy for the course of this game, because it's an easy pitch and catch. Rashid Shaheed doesn't even make a double move against Darius Williams. He just sprints right past him, and Sam Darnold is able to hit him. And from then on, the Rams were basically forced to play either with 3 deep safeties or to play a cover 2 with a safety just always looking over to wherever Rashid Shaheed is to make sure he doesn't get up open over the top. And what that does is when he's cheating towards the sideline, that opens up the middle of the field a lot more. And so the progression of play calling by Clint Kubiak was, okay, I see that middle of the field is going to be open because you're moving the safety a little bit more towards that side. Now I'm just going to expose the middle with Jackson Smith and Jigba. And it was 13-10 at one point. The Rams had taken the lead with a touchdown pass, and the Seahawks had about 55 seconds left. And at best, you're hoping, okay, we can get a field goal to tie the game. But the soft spot in the middle of the field, they run Rashid Shaheed on one side of the field super, super deep, so the safety on that far side is occupied. And then they bring Jackson Smith on just a post route over the middle, so he has the inside leverage on the other safety. And by the time the safety that is on Rashid Shaheed sees that the ball is going to Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's there just a hair late. JSN still had to make an incredible, like, Willie Mays sort of catch, jumping up into the air and leaping with his hands over his head. But the play was there. It was taken advantage of. And then he scores a touchdown because of some forced miscommunication by the Rams defensive backs in the red zone, where Smith and Jigba goes into the backfield and comes out on just like this corner route and is wide open. And it was Kobe Durant looking at Nate Lamb and saying, okay, who is supposed to get that? So now you can't even play your match coverage because you can't trust your defensive backs to communicate and properly pass off these guys. Now you have to bracket both JSN and Rashid Shaheed. So now you've got one safety. Now you can't blitz as much. And when you do, you're not going to be able to really disguise it. So Sam Darnold's going to know what is coming. And credit to Sam Darnold. He had a really big game, 340 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He took advantage of some great his great wide receivers and the great play calling from Clint Kubiak. And it was kind of just a masterclass where, as if there's a battle royale for one of these final head coaching jobs, and it was between Chris Shula and Clint Kubiak, and a team was making their decision based on this game alone, I would say, okay, Clint Kubiak clearly got the best of the chess match here in Seattle. And it ends up, being just enough for the Seahawks to come away with a win. They also, force a 4th down turnover on downs. That was big, and picked up some key first downs playing aggressive football on the last drive, so that when the Rams had one more chance to go down and try and win the game, it was only 25 seconds left and they had to go like 90 yards.
And when you say just enough, if they wouldn't have had the personal foul of taunting that went on for a long time, which was quickly followed up by a Puka Nacua touchdown, they would have been ahead even more. And I can imagine the players on that sideline were extremely angry. Luckily, they came out with the win.
Yeah, Nick Emanwari is a rookie safety for the Seattle Seahawks, and he had to go up to Rick Woolen, a veteran cornerback, and chide him about his behavior there. You have a rookie, and a young rookie at that. This is like a 20-year-old guy having to go up and talk to what should be a veteran leader of the team to knock it off. And I think we can talk about, how much do we love the taunting penalties in the NFL? Regardless, I think even if they hadn't changed the taunting rules, this was one that went a little bit over the top. You could tell the referee really did not want to flag it, because he goes over there at first and is telling Tariq Woolen, "Hey, stop. It's like a kid, or it's like a parent with like an indignant toddler. I don't want to have to put you on timeout, but I will if I have to." And eventually, like, it just became too much, and Rick Woolen was pushing those limits, and he gets flagged for it because he had broken up a play on 3rd and 12 that went to Puka Nacua. So instead of 4th and 12 and a punt, it's now 1st down and 10 and 15 yards closer. And they punt
right in.
against Rick Woolen. They line Rick Woolen up against Puka Nacua, and Puka Nacua gets his revenge right there. So that was a mistake that could have become very, very major, because at that point the Rams were playing catch up, because one of their punt returners, Xavier Smith, just lost his footing trying to get under a punt, fell to the ground, and it hit off of him and allowed the Seahawks to get an easy touchdown that put them up 2 possessions. And from then on, it wasn't if the Rams get a touchdown, they take the lead. It was the Rams need a touchdown to keep this game within 1 possession. And it could have been, now they need it to get within 2 possessions if they had to punt there, but it allowed the Rams to really stay in the game until the end.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Matthew Stafford's done. He was one of our MVP candidates. Drake May, still in. He was one of our MVP candidates. Who do you think will get that? I mean, I know the voting was supposed to happen in regular season, not supposed to be this postseason stuff. Do you think this plays any part?
I mean, unless like the NFL puts its hand in the cookie jar and changes some of the ballots, I don't think it changes anything in terms of who will be on that stage at the NFL awards show in a little bit. I think if we like read in between some of the lines, you could say, well, the first team all-pro quarterback was Matthew Stafford, and then think, okay, well, if the MVP race is between 2 quarterbacks, Drake May, Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford was chosen by the same organization, not necessarily the same exact group of writers, as their best quarterback, it would follow that Matthew Stafford would win the MVP award. However, Lamar Jackson was the AP first team quarterback last year, and Josh Allen ended up winning the award. So we're not really sure what to think. And it's a different group of Associated Press voters within each of these that are making those decisions. So there's not going to be some real sense of consistency. I would put Drake May, even though I think Matthew Stafford has certainly had the better playoff performance. Drake May was also going up against in this run so far. He hasn't looked great, but he's gone up against the number one defense by EPA per play, which is Houston. He's about to go up against the number two in the Super Bowl, which is Seattle, the number five, which is Denver, and the number eight, which is the Chargers. So he is, even though the Patriots defense has kind of had an easy walk in the park against two bad defensive lines or bad offensive lines and then a backup quarterback, Drake May has kind of had to face his fair share of tests during this playoff run. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be Matthew Stafford that wins it, but my vote would be Drake May. But I am a little biased too because I love Drake May.
You've been a big proponent of Drake May, and lo and behold, here he is in the Super Bowl. And the other side of that has a quarterback you may or may not know anything about. His name is Sam Darnold. I don't know if you remember him. He was drafted third overall back in 2018. Is that when it was? 2018?
It was, yes.
And there's a lot of hullabaloo going on that he is the first of that vaunted 2018 class that includes Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. He's the first one to make it to the Super Bowl. And he was selected three. And I was telling Josh just before this podcast started that was the actual Colts slot to pick that year. They dropped down to 6 and picked Quentin Nelson, which is a great offensive lineman. But because of that, the Jets moved up. They picked Sam Darnold third. Sam Darnold did not look great. I mean, he had some flashes, but then soon was released and went to play. I forget his whole route of where he played, but it was
he went to Carolina, and him and Baker Mayfield were on the same team. So you had the number one and number three guys from that draft class. Then he went to be a backup in San Francisco behind Brock Purdy. And then he goes to the Minnesota Vikings last year and puts up close to MVP numbers.
And we think it was in that time in the 49ers world that he really learned and kind of got the grip on what this whole thing was about. Because like you said, when he went to Minnesota, played lights out, but lo and behold, they said, we got this other kid, goes by the moniker JJ, we think is going to take us all the way. We're going to let Sam Darnold walk. He's too expensive. He did walk right over to the Seattle Seahawks, and now here he is in the Super Bowl. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, they did offer Sam Darnold a contract, but I think it was another 1 or 2 year deal with a team option, and he got a 3-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks for a little bit more money. And I think if it had still been an equal offer, he probably still would have chosen to go to Seattle, because in Minnesota, it would have been, you're always looking over your shoulder. If you have a bad game, the fans are going to be calling for JJ McCarthy to be the quarterback. So I think it would have had to be a very big offer that the Vikings would have given him. But he went to Seattle, who, by the way, had traded Geno Smith before this and made kind of a big risky move of their own, just based on how Geno Smith had played during his time with Seattle, because they had faith that they would be able to wow Sam Darnold with a good offer, or wow another one of the quarterbacks that were available last season. Ended up being Sam Darnold. He comes in and he is able to take that offense to a whole nother level. They get him a play caller that probably was one of the most complementary to what he can do in the play action game, and that is Clint Kubiak. And yeah, he learns under Kyle Shanahan. He learns under Kevin O'Connell, and then is able to unleash those powers in Seattle. It's a cool journey for him. It's a cool journey for Clint Kubiak, who, we saw how good this offense could be. Also, Clint Kubiak, who the Vikings had as their offensive coordinator once, by the way. But he was with the Saints last year, and we saw at the beginning of the season last year that the Saints were putting up 45 points in each of their first 2 games, and an offense that looked unstoppable before it was finally kind of put to bed. Clint Kubiak redeems himself with Seattle and shows that, no, it wasn't me. It was the players with the New Orleans Saints that caused all of that tumult. But yeah, it's a really cool story. I'm very, very happy for Sam Darnold. I think even if the Vikings had kept Sam Darnold, we're probably not in the place where the Seahawks are right now, playing for the Super Bowl, just because of how it would have affected other places that we built the roster. But that doesn't mean that letting him walk or not offering him a higher contract was the correct call. I think it probably in the moment, I thought it was the right call. And I think we can become a little bit too captivated by the moment and reactionary. because the games against Detroit and the games against the Rams at the end of last season and into the postseason looked really, really bad. And it looked like Sam Darnold had reached his peak. Like, he can be a good regular season quarterback for you, but against these really good teams with really good defenses, he's not going to be able to do it. And he proved them wrong. He proved all of us wrong with this game. And also so did that Seahawks offensive line. I'm pretty sure that Mike McDonald put them in a room for the last week and forced them nonstop 24/7 to watch what the Rams did to the Vikings offensive line without blitzing last year in the wild card game. And then, like, just basically made them the Manchurian candidate for that to snap into some sort of better ways of protecting Sam Darnold, because he was upright throughout most of this game as well, whereas the Rams had been able to get pressure on him a couple of times in their regular season meetings.
Yeah, you mentioned that he got a 3-year deal from Seattle, and he got a good offensive, minded coordinator in Clint Kubiak. He also got a pretty good offensive line, got a pretty good defense. He got some good wide receivers with Njigba and Cooper Cup. He didn't walk into an organization where he had to like make up for the deficiencies. There's plenty of, and Walker has looked great as a running back that goes in there and just seems to find his way through a defensive line enough to always keep them in short yardage situations. And yeah, I think they're going to be tough when it comes to the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, yeah, and going back real quick to Drake May, and you had mentioned that first down pickup by the Patriots,
mm,
where he runs for the first down to basically ice the game. It was him calling his own number without letting anyone else know. I don't know if you had heard after the game them talking about it, but basically, uh, they had called an outside zone run, and Drake May to himself thought, okay, I'm going to keep it myself and go on a naked bootleg because I think I can get the corner and get the first down. But I'm not going to tell my offensive line because I don't want them to
give it
block it
away.
any differently and give it away. And he ends up faking the handoff, and he really only has to beat one guy, and he speeds past him with a nice stiff arm. Like, that's a cool story too. Is Drake May, and I think it's very funny that Bill Belichick, who is the North Carolina head coach that doesn't want anything to do with the Patriots, now has to watch as a former North Carolina alumni has success and goes into the Super Bowl with his old team. Like, there was a point where he was banning North Carolina social media from posting anything Drake May positive, like even against their win against the Buffalo Bills, and now he has to kind of just be salty about everything. And one of his old players is kind of like the friendlier Bill Belichick, like the more everyman Bill Belichick that won't get as grumpy if you ask him stuff.
Vrabel.
Vrabel, yeah.
Yeah. Vrabel, I'm gonna go back and say this, and I will say this forever. I was kind of stunned when the Titans fired him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he had a down year, but I was still stunned because of who the Titans were, and they're firing Mike Vrabel, who has done a lot of good for that organization. And I was surprised when he did not take a coaching job the next year, and he waited. But
Yeah.
then he comes in this year and has looked every bit of what he needed to be to take this young organization that a lot of people didn't have on their radar as being contenders. Josh did. Josh has been saying since before this year, Drake May's going to look better this year. Now, I don't know if you anticipated Super Bowl when you were saying he's going to look good this year, but
No, I know. I had them winning the wild card and losing in the first, winning one of the 3 wild card spots and then losing in the first round. But I did have Mike Vrabel as my coach of the year pick because of what he probably is. I don't know what the odds are, but probably is the favorite right now to win that award. But yeah, just think of where this Patriots season started. Do you know what what happened in their first game of the year?
I'm trying to remember the first game of the year. Who did they play?
They played and lost to the team with the number 1 overall pick this year. That is the Las Vegas
Raiders.
Raiders.
Oh,
So it was like, for a moment, it seemed that, and maybe it seemed at this point, oh, okay, maybe the Raiders are a little bit good, but it also seemed like, okay, maybe the Patriots aren't as ready to take the next steps. But from there, they lose like one of their, they start 1-2, but then they go on like a 9-10 game winning streak. And I mean, even the in-season coaching job, a loss that demoralizing against the Raiders, followed up by a loss a couple weeks later against the Steelers, where they had every opportunity to put the game out of reach, but kept turning the ball over in the red zone. Those could have killed a team. And Mike Vrabel kept his guys' eyes on the prize, and they are going to be playing for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And Super Bowl has a lot of fun stories that are going to be talked about for the next 2 weeks here. Now we have a couple weeks off. This is always the hard. I think next week is the Pro Bowl, right? Remember that Pro Bowl thing? Oh, by the way, we didn't even announce the great news. Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowl quarterback, guys. And I'm sure you've all seen the meme going around where they line up the stats of Shedeur Sanders with Trevor Lawrence, who was not given a bid for the Pro Bowl. And they are both AFC. For some reason in my head, I was like, oh, they're in separate. No, they're both AFC, and
Oh yeah,
Shedeur Sanders is the pick. And so
yeah, 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year. So if we want to just like recap what the quarterback room looked like for Cleveland at one point this season, they had Super Bowl winning quarterback Kenny Pickett. He took the final snaps against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Flacco, the Pro Bowl quarterback Deshaun Watson, the Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley, and now Pro Bowl quarterback Shedeur Sanders. So that was a loaded quarterback room looking back at it. And, no wonder Kevin Stefanski got fired for not being able to make all of that work.
Remember when we had Stefanski winning coach of the year in our minds? That didn't happen, and now he's fired. Remember when we had McDermott? Did McDermott ever win coach of the year?
I don't think so.
He's fired.
Maybe in 2017, maybe, but yes, Stefanski won it. He won it twice. He was with once with Joe Flacco, and then once when he got the Browns their first playoff win since like they were the Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and now
but
he's gone.
Yeah,
and we'll see who ends up taking his place because we don't even know yet who that's going to be. So, yeah. We've got, like I said, Super Bowl coming in 2 weeks, and this is always the tough time because all you have in between is the Pro Bowl. And the Pro Bowl this year, I think, is happening. I'm not going to lie. I have not watched the Pro Bowl in years because the Pro Bowl was just a joke for a long time now. It's been a joke. And then they started just going to all these like skill games and dodgeball and flag stuff. And I don't even know because I quit watching it because it's just that exciting.
Yeah. So what they do is they have the players from each conference. They have different like skills competitions for each position, and they have some team competitions like dodgeball and stuff. And you get points for all of this. So going into the finale, which is just a 7-on-7 flag football game, you already have points on your side, and those points that you score in that flag football game are added up to your overall score. So even if you win the actual Pro Bowl game, which is that flag football, you still might not win the whole thing. So it can be very, very anticlimactic. I have not watched it ever, but I have had to like write about it for my job at iHeartRadio, where it's like you have to write a story about whoever the Bears guys are, whoever the Vikings guys, and what they did in the Pro Bowl. And he got 3 guys out in dodgeball, and it's like kind of rolling your eyes as you're writing it. But that's what the people want. I don't know if it is.
People want.
Yeah, and this is just like a psyop by the NFL to try to keep us talking about the Pro Bowl because they know nobody's going to watch it. They know that it's going to get like less than 1 million viewers, and right now they can at least play on some of the controversy that is creating. The Pro Bowl has now become the NFL's clickbait source, because now you can just put whoever you want into the games, and it can be just very, very inflammatory reaction wise by everyone else, because the Pro Bowl doesn't mean what it used to mean, even though players still have contract incentives tied to the Pro Bowl,
Yeah.
and they can make $500,000 based on the NFL, who seems to just be trolling people with their selections.
And these incentives, not only are they like the $500,000 more if you make the Pro Bowl in this season, but you have careers being judged to go into the Hall of Fame where they're saying, well, he was a Pro Bowler this many years. And like, when does that stop being an argument? Well, he was yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it's whenever I think like the 2020 on is when we're going whenever those players that have been drafted from 2020 on are up for their Hall of Fame elections, like in 2050 or whatever. We're gonna, which doesn't seem like a real year. I don't know if it is yet. That hasn't been confirmed,
I don't know if
but
that's a real year or not.
um, but yeah, so that's when we'll have to completely put the Pro Bowl arguments to bed. But I think right now, like if you're formulating a contract and you are a good position player, go with all pros or MVP votes
Yeah.
instead of Pro Bowl, because right now it's just way too willy nilly.
Yeah. The Pro Bowl means very little at this point. And so we've got all these teams who like people who make the Pro Bowl who then like I'm maybe injured, quote, and they don't play. And so you just keep going lower and lower in the barrel. So basically, almost everybody has been given a Pro Bowl bid except for Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't
Well,
deserve one.
there could be a chance where there are so many people, like, because I think when they select their alternates, they don't want to give it to someone who is going to drop out of the game, because they don't want to just keep handing out alternates and then keep having, oh, this guy was a Pro Bowler, this guy was a Pro Bowler. So I think what they do is before announcing it, they kind of go down the list, and maybe they did reach out to Trevor Lawrence and say, hey, do you want to be a Pro Bowler? Do you want to come out to, I don't know, where is it, Las Vegas? It used to be in Hawaii. Like that used to maybe be more fun for
Yeah.
these guys. But do you want to go out and first of all gamble millions of dollars away, but also play dodgeball with a bunch of guys during the off season? So I think maybe there's a chance that they just went all the way down the list. Like they went
They
to
get
Trevor
Shador
Lawrence.
and he's like, yeah.
Sure, yeah. Or maybe Dion was pulling some strings with his old NFL Network buddies. I don't know.
Right. But now next year, if Shador Sanders comes out and like is amazing, we'll all look back and say, yeah, they saw it. They saw that
Yes.
Pro Bowl selection committee.
It was prophetic. It was prophetic.
Oh man, so that's what's going on. We're going to try not to talk too much about Seahawks versus Patriots. We're going to do some thinking. We're going to do some like watching of reporting that's going on in this upcoming week, and on next week's show, we're going to talk a little bit about Seahawks and Patriots. Is there anything else to talk about on this show? Where's the Pro Bowl selection? And I know there was a time we were going to talk about that. I have absolutely.
Oh, the Hall of Fame.
I mean, the Hall of Fame. I
selection.
keep saying that. The Hall of Fame selection. I don't even know exactly where we're at in that. I think Reggie Wayne is. I'm a Colts guy. True. By the way, I've been watching The Middle. Do you remember that show?
Yes.
And
I never I watched it, but it's on at my wife's mom's house a lot whenever we visit Charleston.
We never watched it. We never ever watched it. My wife and I, people kept telling us, "Oh, you should watch that." We ran out of like, what are we watching? You know, we watched like The Office, and like for the third time, and it's like, oh, we ran out, and we just hate like scrolling and looking for something. We just want something that has lots of seasons that we can just watch one a night, and then my wife can fall asleep in the middle, and we can be done with it. And so we started The Middle, and I just absolutely love it because they're constantly talking about the Colts.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because they're based in Indiana.
Parks and Rec has the
Yes,
Colts, so
do.
you can some like Andrew Luck is in a couple episodes,
Yeah.
and
and Reggie Wayne. We've watched that multiple the whole series multiple times as well. So we're adding this one to our love of Colts sitcoms. But I forgot how I even got on that. What was I talking about?
Reggie Wayne as one of the Hall of Fame candidates or
Reggie
finalists.
Reggie Wayne, Adam Vinatieri. So I know
Yes.
those two, but I believe that Mathis is not this year. He was last year a finalist. This year he's not even a finalist, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be hard for him to kind of keep getting back into that finalist conversation. This year, I think there are Larry Fitzgerald as another wide receiver, Torrey Holt as another wide receiver, Reggie Wayne. I think it's just going to get tougher and tougher for wide receivers because there's just so many of them. I would
Yeah.
like to see Reggie Wayne go in. I definitely believe Adam Vinatieri should have gone in last year. He should have been first ballot Hall of Fame along with what's his face, return man, Bears.
Devin Hester.
Devin Hester. Those two guys, as far as like your non big positions, like a quarterback, wide receiver, running back that will sometimes get those kinds of things. You never have kickers and punters, hardly. And you never have, return men. But Devin Hester went in first ballot Hall of Fame. Adam Vinatieri should have for all that he has done. Leading scorer in the NFL of all time. Most clutch kicks, you know, two teams, multiple Super Bowls. Adam Vinatieri should have gone in first ballot Hall of Fame, and I think it's a travesty that the voters let him not. I think he will this year go in. He better go in this year.
Yeah, it would have been fitting for him to go in with Devin Hester because
It would have.
their first meeting against one another was in the Super Bowl, an iconic moment when Devin Hester gets the kickoff return touchdown, but the Colts, go on and win that game in the rain, and Prince from Minnesota provides the best Minnesota performance in a Super Bowl of all time. So we have Adam Vinatieri. I'll go through the list here real
Yeah.
quick. It's Willie because they're gonna announce it at the same time they announce all the awards, and we can maybe even touch on the awards next week,
Yeah.
right before we go into the Super Bowl, because that will be those award ceremonies. I think are the day before, 2 days before the Super Bowl.
Right.
But the Hall of Fame players, at least in the modern era, 5 of these guys can go in maximum. It's Willie Anderson of the Bengals, a tackle, Drew Brees, Jari Evans, a
Drew Brees
guard.
will go in first ballot.
Oh yeah,
I guarantee that. Okay, keep going.
Jari Evans, Larry Fitzgerald, a wide receiver, obviously from the Cardinals, and I guess he's a Minnesota guy, born and raised, so he also had a big Super Bowl performance. Another him and Prince as the best Minnesota folks. Frank Gore, who a compiler running back that is, I think, second or third all time in rushing yards,
He
but
like
never
played
was.
forever.
Yeah, almost. And his son is in the league, kind of bouncing around on practice squads now. Torrey Holt, like you said, Luke Kuechly, the linebacker. Eli Manning is in his second year of eligibility. Terrell Suggs, Terrell Suggs, also from Minnesota. Adam Vinatieri, Reggie Wayne, Kevin Williams, a Minnesota Vikings player, Jason Witten, Darren Woodson, and Marshall Yanda. Now, I think like if you go through those 15 guys, that probably 13 of them are eventual Hall of Famers. I would assume at least. It could be all 15.
We say that, but it gets harder and harder the more it
Yeah.
get pushed back every year. At some point, they go out of people's minds. And is there ever a down enough 5 years where they're going to be like, "Oh, this is the best,"
Yeah, that is true. Eventually, they go over to like the
seniors?
veterans committee, like the old guys committee. So a bunch of their friends are voting for them. But like I think the way it goes typically is they don't allow. I mean, that's not a rule, but
Right.
they don't allow more than one guy from one position to get in, and you are typically only first ballot if you are super first ballot worthy. And I think both Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald in their first years on the ballot probably are those first ballot worthy guys. So I think they get in, which I think Reggie Wayne should be in. I think if there's a logjam, you should clear out the logjam a lot of the time, and Reggie Wayne would be the first guy off of that logjam, he and Torrey Holt. But I think if they kind of go with their trends, it's going to be Larry Fitzgerald, it's going to be Drew Brees. They're going to want a couple of defensive guys. And I think Luke Kuechly finally gets in. Patrick Willis had to wait a year, and Luke Kuechly basically had the same career where he was really, really good his entire career, but only played 7 or 8 seasons. So I think Luke Kuechly gets in. I do think maybe Kevin Williams gets in because he has been eligible for the Hall of Fame for so long, but has never made it to the finalists round. That kind of reading between the lines can show me, okay, maybe there is a surge of support for him, especially since this is like there's some big opening guys here like Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald that could have kicked him further down the road. I think maybe there was a surge there and that gets him in this year. And let's see. They probably want a guy like an offensive lineman. So whoever the next offensive lineman in off the pile would be Jari Evans.
So you're saying no Adam Vinatieri.
Oh no, actually, yeah. Adam Vinatieri. Sorry, I think Adam Vinatieri would get in over Jari Evans.
Whew,
I think that.
I thought you were like voting him down. I'm like, what?
Oh, I'm not voting. I'm making my predictions right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Not your vote. Your prediction of their votes.
Although that would match pretty close to, like, I would have Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, but I also would have Reggie Wayne. I would have 2 wide receivers go in. But yes, so that gives you like a diverse position group of a quarterback, a wide receiver, defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a kicker. So you kind of get a nice even split among all 3 phases of the game.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's hard for them to ever put in 2 wide receivers, which just means it's going to get harder and harder because there's a lot of good wide receivers in the world, and they just keep retiring.
Yeah. And like it used to be 10,000 yards was like the hallmark of getting there, but now 5 good seasons can get you to 10,000 yards in the passing league. So we're kind of like having to reset our expectations. And I think because of that, some guys that are caught in the middle there might be forgotten about and have to wait for the senior committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Reggie Wayne is one of those that is going to have a tougher time. He was number 2 on Peyton Manning's team, right, behind Marvin Harrison, but he was the possession guy who got it all the way down the field before Marvin Harrison took it in, unless it was like a long, deep pass. But he was like the number 1 for luck for many of those years.
Mm-hmm.
And I know T.Y. Hilton was in there too, but Reggie Wayne was a good one. We'll see if he ever gets in.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think you're right. I think Fitzgerald leapfrogs him this year. Hopefully, Adam Vinatieri. And of course, I'm a Purdue guy, so Drew Brees. I feel like those are all my home guys. Vinatieri, which is funny because like I knew him for so long as a Patriot that it took me a while to accept him as a Colt. Then he came in and I took him as one of my own. And I think he played longer for the Colts than he did for the Patriots. So I have to at least cling to that. So I'm going to claim him as one of my guys.
Yeah, he has 4 Super Bowl wins, and again, like you said, the most clutch kicker of all time.
And I think he's still the all-time leading scorer, right?
Yeah, that would not surprise me. He played 24 seasons in the NFL, so I think I don't have the numbers in front of me, but
way up there in points, and so he's got a lot going for him. I really thought he would be in last year. I was surprised. But I've been surprised before, and they could do it to me again if they don't put him in this time. So, but I would be really surprised. Somebody was like, "Oh, you think Drew Brees will go in?" I'm like, "Do I think Drew Brees will go in?" Whenever you look at like most anything quarterback, there's like 3 guys at the top. It's always Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees. Those guys kind of were juggling around at the top, and of course, I see him as going in. So,
oh yeah.
All right. Well, that may do it for us this week. I think we're going to hit that other stuff next time when we talk Super Bowl and we talk awards, all that next week here on the Football Fandemic. Come back and join us. We'll see you guys then. Bye now.